a change of scenery this morning. In honor of Earth Day, it felt appropriate to mix things up just a bit. No talk of pandemics or explicit politics this morning, just us, the land we tread upon, and the life that springs from it and surrounds and nourishes us all. If we were able to gather safely together at church this morning, you'd likely be holding a sheet of paper, soon to be recycled, in order of service. There you would read that the title of my talk to you today is Earth Day, followed by a question mark. Earth Day? When I've spoken about Earth Day in years past, I almost always mention that it was imagined into being back in 1970 by Wisconsin Senator Gaylord Nelson. I'm thrilled to finally be able to celebrate this achievement by one of our own, well, one of your own, on his home turf. To celebrate Earth Day this year, we're having a soil communion. Bring a handful, cupful, or flower pot full of soil and add it to the communal bucket located in the garden at the front of the church. You have until noon on Saturday the 24th. Then the bucket of soil will be taken to the Obuck Social Justice Community Garden and added to the fertile soil there. There's one other request with this. Please bless your soil as you add it to the bucket. You can say something like, "May the soil gathered here remind us of what each of us brings to this community and of the ground that nourished us before we were even born, that continues to give us sustenance and energy for our life's journeys and for all creatures on this earth." If my math is correct, this coming Thursday will be our 51st Earth Day. 51 years. How are we doing with all this? We still have a ways to go, don't we? Several years ago on a Sunday morning, much like this one, I asked the members of the faith community I then served to join me in a little thought experiment. I asked them to hold in one hand the Buddhist notion of impermanence. For example, the glass I'm holding in my hand has already been knocked off the table and has crashed into countless pieces, rendering it no longer repairable, no longer able to hold any liquid. This practice is said to help us understand that everything we will ever know only lasts so long. This leads to both being in the moment and lessening our attachment, hence, hopefully, decreasing our suffering. At the same time, I asked them to imagine the photograph that came to be known as Earthrise, taken by NASA astronaut William Anders from lunar orbit on Christmas Eve, December 24th, 1968. Our planet, home to our entire species and all we had known, seen as never before. I asked the people I served and loved if they could reconcile the two, impermanence and the beauty of our planet. Turns out they weren't any better at doing so than I was. So this morning, I thought I'd come here to a place both with trees in the background on a partly cloudy, if a little chilly, beautiful early spring morning to talk with you about Earth Day. You may hear road sounds in the background, though I hope they won't prove too distracting, but I thought they might actually help highlight some of what I want to say in just a bit. My closing words 2 weeks ago on Easter Sunday to you were, let's do what we can to make the home we create for ourselves and one another worthy of the glorious world we inhabit. That's a theme I've often returned to in my ministry, creating for ourselves and those who will come after us a home worthy of the world's beauty. That's what I most long to be part of. Faith communities working to bring more beauty to the world. For we know that justice is as beautiful as early tulips. And sometimes, just sometimes, justice even lasts a little longer. Then I read reports that our planet's sixth mass extinction is well underway and actually speeding up. According to a study published last year in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, and here I'm quoting, in the past 100 years, more than 400 vertebrate species went extinct. In the normal course of evolution, such extinctions would have taken up to 10,000 years, unquote. Cabellos Gonzalez, the lead author of the study, notes that most of these extinctions are in areas with rising human populations. In terms of the vastness of life, our world is growing poorer because of the impact we are making. How can we reconcile this with how we choose to live our daily lives? Now, there's a point here I have to make. We call it Earth Day, but we're not really talking about our planet. We're talking about the Earth as our home. We're talking about the health and vitality of what some call our biosphere. In short, is the home we create for ourselves worthy of the glorious world we inhabit? And while it may not seem like it, I've chosen the frame you see me standing within with some care. I've omitted some things, like the trash that's accumulated at the tree line. When I see things like this, I often think back to that "Don't Pollute" ad on TV I saw so often in my childhood, the one with the Native American elder with the tear on his cheek. And I think back to a spot of land my high school friends and I would retreat to. We called it Thor's Wrath. Thor's Wrath was a couple of acres between two suburban subdivisions. One had been built in the late 50s, the other, as far as I could tell, in the mid-70s. Thor's Wrath was full of mounds of dirt and gullies between them. Here and there you'd find a base of a faded tree's roots suspended perpendicular to the rest of the ground. It had been a wood and was now a wasteland. It's been decades since I've been there. I imagine someone has graded it and built homes there by now. Seeing it then, it was easy to imagine how a god of the natural world would rage at what had been made of it. If we had been more in tune, my friends and I, with feminist theology back then, we might have called it Callie's Bane. As Wendell Berry put it, there are no unsacred places. There are only sacred places and desecrated ones. That former wood had been desecrated, that's for sure. Thinking back now to Thor's Wrath or Callie's Bane, I find myself wishing that there was a vengeful deity to right this and so many other obvious wrongs. But maybe we don't need a deity. We have Greta Thunberg, after all. As she puts it, adults keep saying we owe it to the young people to give them hope. But I don't want your hope. I don't want you to be hopeful. I want you to panic. I want you to feel the fear I feel every day. And then I want you to act. I want you to act as if your house is on fire, because it is. Many of you will have heard that before. It's from her famous TED Talk. But let it sink in for a moment more. I don't want your hope. I don't want you to be hopeful. I want you to panic. I want you to feel the fear I feel every day. And then I want you to act as if your house is on fire, because it is. In the novel The Ministry for the Future by Ken Stanley Robinson, one of the protagonists speaks to someone in power, asking, "In your environmental impact models, is there any scenario whatsoever in which there won't be more heat waves that kill millions of people?" In response, the leader of the ministry says, "Yes." But she was troubled. The possibility he was bringing up for her now was exactly what kept her up awake at night after night. Scenarios with good results in which they managed to avoid more incidents of mass deaths were in fact extremely rare. People would have to do things they were not doing. His presence was all too much like one of her insomniac whirlpools of thought, as if she had stumbled into one of her nightmares while still awake, so that she couldn't get out of it. If what Greta Thunberg says strikes a chord with us, it's because what she says is what our consciousnesses already know. Black Lives Matter activists encourage us to get and stay woke. Well, we need to get and stay woke to our environmental impact as well, because nightmares are enough at night. We don't need to live them during our waking hours. How then can we reconcile our appreciation for the beauty of the world and the destructive impact we're having on our biosphere? I don't have a unified theory or comprehensive answer for that. Whatever we do will be imperfect. Whether that will be enough? This Earth Day, this early spring morning, let us take inspiration from the beauty that surrounds us still. And may we offer a blessing of both gratitude. May the soil gathered here remind us of what each of us brings to this community, and of the ground that nourished us before we were even born, that continues to give us sustenance and energy for our life journeys and for all creatures on this earth. And may our blessing also include a promise that we will be as mindful as we can for today and all the days that come. Our home and the home of all who will come after us depends on it. May it be so. Amen.